In this project, the first thing you're going to do is create a 1-inch border around your paper. There are several reasons for creating these borders. It makes your work look neater, but more importantly, if you're going to frame your work, it gives you a place for the frame. And the most important reason of all is that it allows your eye to sort of look inside the edges of the paper. Your brain naturally looks for boundaries. And have you ever drawn something where you didn't mean to, but it ran off the page? Creating these kinds of borders helps you to keep your subject area inside the boundary of your paper. Create your lines by making at least 2 marks and then connecting them with the straight edge of a ruler. If your lines don't match up exactly, then go ahead and use your ruler and connect them. After you've finished making your edges, erase any stray marks. After you've printed out your photograph of your objects, begin drawing very lightly. I'm using a 4B pencil here, but you can use an HB or a 2B to create your drawing. But the key here is to draw very, very lightly because you'll be erasing. And I'm not only looking for the shape of the objects themselves, but I'm looking for the shapes of the negative spaces inside those objects. This also helps you to preserve your proportions and draw a more realistic object. Also, as you draw, look for where one line is going to meet up with another line across the plane of the picture. This helps you to establish the sizes and angles of lines and shapes. Take your time in this stage. This is kind of like the foundation of a house. If you get your contours correct, then the rest of it is really just going to be fun value shading. When your contours are complete and you're satisfied with those, begin shading. And notice that I'm using a piece of computer paper underneath my hand. This prevents any smudging. So I leave this underneath as I shade so that I don't mess up those contour lines that I spent so much time on. Hold your pencil at an angle and let it kind of swing freely to create a uniform value. As I shade, I'm also checking back and forth to make sure that I have those angles correct. I'm building up my values. Now I started with some of my darkest values in this area, but I'm not making them as dark as they're going to be. And I'm re-emphasizing the contours. You're not a copy machine, so you can add a little stylistic embellishments for emphasis where needed to bring out your subject. Build up values gradually, going from one section to another. Everything in drawing is relative to the other things around it. Your objects exist in space, and so they are impacted by their surroundings. So when I have my background a little bit darker, then that's going to give me something to judge the rest of my drawing on. Those areas of value that are not my darkest areas. So I repeatedly move from one spot in my work to another, building up darker and darker values. Now here I've picked up a 6B pencil and I'm going to darken the corners. It's good compositional practice to have dark values framing your work, even if that's not what you see. So I'm going to make sure that that far corner there is really one of my darkest values. And then I'm going to come back in, see how I'm moving around and always keeping that paper under my hand to protect my work. Now I'm continuing to add these values. Remember that the very lightest places, the whitest whites, are going to have no pencil. Everything else is going to have a little bit of pencil added. You can erase out areas if you need them to be very light. You can also use a blending stump if you have one, these are optional, to draw a little bit. It'll rub in a little gentle, smooth gray in there once it's gotten dirty. So these are also good drawing objects. Now I'm looking back and forth and I've noticed that this strip here is darker than the background. It's got a shadow there. I'm going to darken that. And I also wasn't really happy with my angle of the background, so I'm going to kind of refine that as I go. Just continue your observations and building up those values. I'm right-handed, so I tend to work from the upper right to the lower left, but there's really not a right or wrong way to do it. Whatever feels comfortable to you. And I'm also re-emphasizing my contours in places just to make sure that I don't lose that as I go. Be patient with yourself as you work on this first portfolio. Enjoy the process and really work on your powers of observation through this project. If you are frustrated or need help or have questions, please reach out and let me know. Have fun. Bye.